Good afternoon and welcome to the Uncreative Crafter. My name is Jen and I'm your host, and that there is Ozzy. And here's hoping she stays asleep and doesn't move. Okay, cool. Uh, Today is Saturday, December 26th, 2015, and this is episode 23. Now, I want to get this out of the way early in the episode. If you're here for winter camp stuff, I am going to be putting out a winter camp episode, like a mini episode, but I'm trying to keep things relatively separate in order to keep my video length down. And then also, if you're not interested in winter camp, or if you're in winter camp and you're not interested in the podcast, you're not subjected to one or the other. So I will be recording a winter camp episode after this one. So stay tuned if that's something you're interested in. Let's get right on into it. Don't mind the crinkling. Yesterday was Christmas, and so there is some wrapping paper on the floor because why get your cat a present when they can just play with wrapping paper? So here's hoping that Dorian just sleeps and stops moving. We'll see. Okay, so let's move on into stash. I'd like to tell you there's not a ton of stash, but that's not quite true. Let's start with the thing that I forgot last week, and I felt like such an idiot. But I had one. Christy of Fiber Stash did a little giveaway, and she was giving out mini skeins, and I won one of them. And I totally forgot to mention that last episode. So I'm sorry, Christy. What she calls a mini skein is, I think, like 13 grams. So for me, that's like a maxi skein. I don't even know. Like, I don't just want to use it in my sock yarn blanket because I'd have so much left over. But at the same time, I'm not sure what to do with it. So if you have any ideas for approximately 11 grams of a fingering weight yarn, I don't really want to start making a bigger scrap blanket, but maybe that's what I should do. But anyway, you want to see the yarn. It's really pretty. And this is her Twinkle Toes base. So it's a fingering weight with sparkle. And hopefully, yeah, you can kind of tell there's sparkle in there. And this is the Pick Your Own colorway. So I'm so sorry, Christy, that I forgot last week, and figured I'd start things off today with your yarn. All right, so that is the oh no. This is why we write show notes. I also wanted to mention Christy is going to be doing the Slater Mill Knitting Weekend, which is going to be January 15th through 17th in Pawtucket. I wanted to make sure I pronounced that properly, in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So if you are in the area and you haven't heard of that and you are interested in it, Dorian. If you are in the area and you are interested in that, please go ahead and check it out. I will link what's going on that weekend in the show notes on Ravelry and on my blog. And next up, I got my Christmas package from Andrea, the cat lady of the Cat Lady podcast. And she's a darling and a dear, and I love her to bits and pieces, and she spoiled me completely rotten. So while I didn't have too much stash to talk about, I do now because partially of Andrea. So I did not participate in the Knit Picks big sale, their Black Friday sale. I did last year. I've picked up Felici and whatnot in additional sales they've had, and I'd spent a lot of money at Rhinebeck, and I had all the colors that I really wanted. Didn't feel like I could really justify spending the money. And it ended up being, I mean, like, you've probably heard the horror stories, the site, refusing to load. People would put stuff in their carts and then it wouldn't be there anymore. It would say that you bought the yarn, and then someone would be like, oh, oops, we don't have it anymore. And so I was kind of glad that I did not buy anything. Andrea did, and she had a problem with her order where she lost 6 balls of the dollar Felici, and she got a credit, I think free shipping and everything. It is what it is. And what did she do? But she bought me some Felici. And it's funny. She's like, I hope you're not tired of this because I know you knitted your last 3 pairs of socks were Felici. And I'm like, well, like childbirth and kidney stones and other terrible things. I assume the pain eventually goes, like you forget about it, right? And you were able to work with it again. So let me show you what the Felici looks like. And this is, if you've not seen Knit Picks Felici, this is their extremely popular self-striping yarn that they've discontinued and now only bring back occasionally for sales. And this is the Madrigal colorway. So I have 2 balls of this, and it's just, I'm not going to be disappointed with this, I know, because the Glacier colorway that I used last had very close blues in it, and so it was, for me, very difficult to see any difference in the stripes for 3 of the stripes. But this is obviously very saturated, very different colors, and so I think I will be pleased with this yarn. It's so, so soft and so nice to knit with, and I really like Felici. See, I'm already forgetting the pain of the 3 pairs of Felici socks in a row. Go figure. And then she totally surprised me. I talked last episode about the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted hashtag on Instagram, where you could post, you were looking for a certain pattern, you were looking for speckled yarn, you wanted something from an indie dyer, whatever your heart desired, and then, you would also be granting people's wishes. And I posted 2 wishes. I was only able to grant one of them, and one was granted to me. The other one was my sort of like impossible dream. Well, Christy of Fiber Stash does have a Storm Coast colorway, which is super flattering, and I love it. And you should definitely, I'll post a link to that as well, so you can take a look at it. She created that and sort of surprised me with it. And so I sort of was like, I would like to work with an indie dyer in developing a colorway. Now, I didn't say that I wanted to like have them send me the colorway like for free. That I didn't expect that, but at the same time I wasn't super clear. I did have a very specific vision in my head, and I did have someone contact me, and then once we talked a little bit, she realized she didn't really have the right colors for what I was looking for. But that was really sweet of her to even, offer. And so Andrea, sneaky, 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 went over to her friend's house, and her friend's first name, which I don't remember, but she is Chasing Acorns on Etsy, and so I'll provide a link for that also. She dyes yarn, and she also makes project bags and does other little crafty things. She went over to her house, and they played with dye. And if you've watched Andrea's latest episode, not the mini episode about Christmas, the full episode, she shows you the Storm Coast colorway. And of course, she didn't just make one for herself. She made one for me too. So this is the Cat Ladies Storm Coast colorway. Oh, and okay, it's maybe a bit warmer in person. It's showing off very cool on the screen here, but it has. Okay, so when I said Storm Coast, I'm really thinking the beach where I grew up when I got caught there in a rainstorm. And so you'd have the, dark gray of the sky, and you had like the deep blue of the ocean, and it just sort of turns out like steely gray color, and like the pale color of the sand, and the sort of bleached light green of the seagrass. And so I think she did a really great job with what I gave her. And I have never worked with MCN before, which is merino cashmere nylon. This is a sock yarn. It's a fingering weight, and so I don't know what I'm going to make with it yet, but I'm so excited that someone was able to take the vision that I had and translate it to yarn. That is so cool to me. And so, Andrea, you rock. Thank you so much. You are the bestest. She also, because she's Andrea and she's like, oh, I'm not good at swap packages, but she's amazing at them, sent me some chocolate and Star Wars gummies. I'm not going to hold them up because they are in a crinkly plastic bag and I don't want to annoy anybody. And you've seen something similar the last time she sent me a swap package, and I didn't eat the chocolate yet, so I was behaving myself. She also sent me tea, which I love that we send each other tea. I have so much tea now that like I've actually made it a habit to try and drink a cup of tea a day. Now I don't always get to do it because I also just love water, but it has been so much fun trying different kinds of teas. And then when I go out to the store, I look for different teas that I can send to people, and it's really sort of broadened my tea horizons, which is really neat. But anyway, she sent me, because she knows that I liked these the last time, the Good Earth sweet chai of mine, and then also the Good Earth sweet and spicy. And then she also sent me some new ones that I'd never tried before. And I got one Yogi Sweet Tangerine Positive Energy. And I don't think that I've ever had an orange or a tangerine tea before. So this is going to be interesting. It's called an herbal supplement. I might need to make sure I drink that early in the morning. Yeah. And then also on the complete opposite end of the scale, and she sent me two, which is really sweet. Oop, there goes one. She sent me some Yogi Honey Lavender Stress Relief. And I recently tried lavender tea for the first time. I got the Stash lavender tulsi or tulsi. I still haven't looked up how to say that. And I love the smell of lavender, and I guess I'd never really thought about it being edible. And it's actually a really enjoyable herbal tea, and so I'm also quite excited to try this one. And then, that's not enough. She also, and I was like, how much do you want for this? And she's like, nope, I needed to send you something for Christmas anyway. She also made me one of her awesome drawstring bags and the Exploding TARDIS fabric. She let me pick out if I wanted ribbon or paracord, and I liked the ribbon. And then the inside says, see if I can get it. Yep, the inside is like Doctor Who fabric also. So, and I love it. It's not huge, which is great, but I sort of, I tend to love box bags, as I think I mentioned last episode, and then I've gotten a couple of like bigger bags, but I don't have in between bags. And so for like my sock yarn blanket, which is currently in one of my box bags, it's going to go in here now because it's starting to outgrow the box bag. And I think this will work really well, at least for a little while, if I slow down on squares on it anyway. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So that was another lovely thing from Andrea. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then I also got a package in the mail today from Sue of the Two Tangled Skeins podcast and the Tangled Skeins CA on Etsy. She makes awesome Japanese knot bags and stitch markers. And you saw one of those last episode. And she will be donating a bag for my podiversary as well. And I still haven't checked with her to see what size it is because holidays and crazy brain. And if I don't write it down, and sometimes even if I do write it down, I forget. So I'll check in with you, Sue. But she had been compiling with Selma and Lynn, who both also appear on the podcast. They've been collecting minis for me. And so I got a bag full of minis from, let's see. All right, so I think these are just the little, like, itsy bitsy ones. And I'm sorry there's a glare, but I didn't really feel like taking them out of the bag. Because if I take them out of the bag, I'm going to lose them because they're all so small. And I think these are combined, either just Lynn or Lynn and Sue. I don't actually remember, but that's okay. And also, I got a little bag from Selma, which is so cute. And she labeled all of them, which I love. Thank you, Selma. I love knowing, because I do keep track. I have got a little Excel spreadsheet, and every time I put in one, I say who it's from, and if I know the yarn, and if I know the colorway. And that's just really nice for me, because as I'm working with it, I'm finding yarns that I'm really enjoying and would like to try more of, and if I know who it's by, that can happen. So this is terrible. I have to keep track now of the order people have sent me minis in because I'm trying to go in chronological order. And I've got so many now that I need to write it down so I actually go in the right chronological order. Oh man, I know. First world problems, right? Oh well. Sue said I could talk about this. So, editing this into the package that Sue sent me with the minis, I also got a little Christmas present, which is this super cute. Oh, yeah, sorry. I've got the notes on my monitor, so it's kind of, and I've got the light off because it's just a dreary day and I didn't want to do overkill. But it's this cute tin with these like, does this remind you of like was it like the stars in the 60s on the top of the trees? I don't remember. It's got this sort of like mod vibe to it, I think. And so it's just this cute little tin that she's lined with paper. And how useful are these? I never knew that I needed small tins or bags for notions until I kept losing them. And now they are my best friend. And she also made a little progress keeper snowman. Yeah, I don't want to take him out of the bag, even though he's in the tin. I love bags like this too. These are so useful. So, thank you, Sue. Actually, maybe we should put this progress keeper on something that we're going to show you later in the podcast. So, it's going to seem weird, but that's okay. And then the last thing that I got, and this was a totally unexpected surprise also, I received a gift pattern on Ravelry. And this was the Shawl of Destiny by Amba O'Brien. It's a $6 US Ravelry download. It is a 2-color fingering weight shawl. And this was gifted to me by Knit Live Love, and Knit Live Love is Verena, who lives in Germany. And I think she's a relatively newer watcher to the podcast, but she won my giveaway last episode for the Breckenwick cowl, and just out of the blue, one day she gifted me this beautiful pattern, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. What is this for? And she wished me a happy early podiversary. That's really awesome, and I really appreciate it. And thank you so much, Verena. That was really sweet of you to do that. And I hope you enjoy making the Breckenwick cowl in winter camp. So we will move back on to, and I really got to come up with a different name for this. I don't know. I guess we'll just call it like it, but it's not podcast news either. It's kind of just like things to talk about. No, that's terrible. I don't know what to call it. Whatever. So a couple of new podcasts that I've begun watching that I wanted to let you guys know about. First of all, you may have heard about this one already, you may not, but Mandy Pinecone, who is my friend Mandy, and she is the head of Team Puffin for winter camp, finally bit the bullet and decided to become a podcaster as well. And so she is Mandy Pinecone Crafts, and Mandy Pinecone is all one word, and it is a video podcast on YouTube. She's just got her second episode up as of yesterday, and so if you are looking for someone who knits amazing things and does it really quickly, I would say go watch Mandy. She's currently doing a giveaway, one of Sue's knot bags, and so if that's something you're interested in winning, because my contest hasn't started yet, go watch her episode for the prompt and then join her group on Ravelry and enter to win that. So congratulations, Mandy, and welcome to the crazy. Yeah, you're going to learn how much fun uploading to YouTube is. No, you learned that yesterday, didn't you? Pain in the butt. All right, moving right along. I found this gal through Instagram and also through Winter Camp. And so I watched the most recent episode of Strong Girl Knits, and Strong Girl, 2 words if you're searching for it. And she is Ren, and I believe her Ravelry username is Girl with the Rabbit. And she is a newer podcaster. I think I watched episode 7. She's making some awesome things, and she also lifts. So I used to work in the fitness industry, and so it's not something that I got into necessarily, but it is something that I can appreciate. And so I thought it was a really cool aspect to a podcast that brings in something a little bit different than what you normally see, which is really neat. So go check out Strong Girl Knits on YouTube as well. And since I keep name dropping Sue, we'll also talk about Sue's coupon code. Sue of the Tangled Skein CA on Etsy has really super graciously given watchers of the podcast and members of the group a coupon code. It is good for 15% off a purchase of $10 or more in her Etsy shop. Again, she makes the Japanese knot bags and also stitch markers. And if you don't see what you're looking for in her shop, send her a message, because I'm 99% certain not everything that she has is listed on Etsy, but she makes them to order based on what you're looking for and what you like. And it's easy enough to spend a little bit of money in her shop and get that discount code. So if you got any Christmas or holiday money and now you are looking for a way to spend it, go check her out. That coupon code is good now through the end of winter camp till March 31st. So it's a very generous amount of time if you're waiting to get and see if you get any, holiday money. You've got some time to think about it. So again, thank you so much, Sue. I love that you offered me a coupon code, and go use it, people. Coupon codes are awesome. All right, we will bust right on into what I finished. If you watched last episode, the cliffhanger of will she or won't she finished her Holly Jolly Folly socks the Sunday before Christmas. Yes, she did. So I busted some butt and finished these. And these are my Holly Jolly Folly socks. And the yarn base is, it's Woolen Vine Yarn Company, or maybe just Woolen Vine Yarns. And on her blitzed base, which is sparkly, and it is her Holly Jolly colorway. I called them the Holly Jolly Folly socks because I had so many issues making them. Whatever, we're done now, it's okay. The last sort of issue that I had, and I didn't really realize it until I put them on to take a picture to show everybody, the way it pooled on the leg, this leg especially, it looks cool here, but on my leg it looks like I severed an artery shaving my legs or something. So yeah, that's okay. Yarn does funny things when you change gauge or stitch or whatever. So lesson learned, it's not the yarn's fault, it's operator. So I knew that I wasn't going anywhere on Christmas, so I decided to wear them to work on Christmas Eve, even though New Hampshire was having a bit of a heat wave and it was 66 degrees that day. I was kind of dying a little, but dang it, I was wearing my Christmas socks to work. So these I think are going to be slightly more special occasion-y. I would not normally pick a sparkle base to do socks in. Not that I don't love sparkle yarn, because I do, but just socks get so much wear on them that I would be afraid of, I don't know, the sparkle coming out or cutting. It's probably not gonna cut the yarn. You're all looking at me like I'm nuts now, but that's okay. So I'm probably not gonna wear these too frequently, but I'm glad to have them done at least, and it is a pretty yarn. But I finished these, woohoo. Did I finish anything else? Oh, yeah, I did this today. This is why we write down show notes. Finally attempted needle felting my sock that had a hole in it from like last year when I talked about it. So the yarn for this one is Done Roving, the Frolicking Feet base in the colorway Garnets and Rubies. And I finished these socks back in the summer of 2014. They seemed fine. I put them on to wear them one day to work, and I'd only put them on maybe once to take a picture of them, and there was a hole. And I don't know exactly what happened, but, didn't know how to fix it, didn't know what to do. It paralyzed me for a year. And so I finally went to the yarn store and picked up some needle felting supplies and some fiber to needle felt with. And I used the Gumball Pack by Frabjous Fibers for my felting wool. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how I did. This is maybe only the third time I've ever needle felted, and I've never needle felted a patch before. So I'm a little nervous, but I will take these out for a spin. So I did use a similar color to sort of patch it. So I went, above the hole, down, and unfortunately a lot of stitches had dropped, so I had to come pretty far down. And then I sort of did it across, and then I actually went through and I probably overkilled it. I then needle felted it from this side, and then I came back and I tried to get a little bit more around the edges because I had sort of conservatively applied the felt, and I had a couple of stitches that seemed like they might pull on the sides. It's not a pretty fix. I'm not going to pretend like you wouldn't notice this. It sticks out pretty far, if you can kind of see. And I'm not 100% certain it will work, but at least I finally tried it. I was concerned that it might not work on a superwash yarn, but because the wool that I use to felt with is not superwash, it seemed like it worked pretty well. I was then also concerned, like, what, I'm sticking these needle felting needles into the stitches that aren't screwed up, like, is that going to cut them? It doesn't seem to have. I am going to maybe, like, take it and tug it when I'm off camera, so if it falls apart, I can cry there and you don't have to watch it. But I finally did it. I finally needle felted the hole in my sock, so at least that way I can clean that off my slate for the new year. Don't have that hanging over my head anymore. So those are the only two things I've finished. You would think with winter camp coming up, it would be like, get all the things off the needles, but I'm just not that good at finishing things. So let's move on into working on. The first thing that I'm working on is so close to being done. It's stupid. I should just finish it. Like, it will probably take me an additional 10 to 15 minutes of knitting, and that's about it. And this is my ruffle scarf, which is being worked on a US size 7 or a 4.5 millimeter needle in the Red Heart Boutique Sachet yarn in the color Rumba or Roomba. Yeah, I never actually figured out how to pronounce that. But anyway, these are my Knit Picks interchangeable needles, by the way. So you are supposed to work until you have a yard left of yarn, right? I have this much yarn left. That's probably slightly over a yard. Why don't I just finish this so I can be on my way and feel slightly accomplished? I don't know. But anyway, it's a 6-stitch, little ruffly. It's got little sparkles on the end of it. If I finish it in the next week, I can put it in the Bookish Stitchers Sparkle Cal and get another entry. So that should be all I need to do. I can finish this in a week. This is easy. Why don't I just do it? But anyway, it's sort of these fun purples and maroony burgundies and whatnot. So something I have actually sort of pulled out and worked on a little bit. And we'll just shove that over there. And then I am also working on my sock yarn blanket. I'm trying obviously not to cast on things because of winter camp, so sock yarn blanket has been getting a lot of love recently. Since the last time you've seen it, I think I've done 6 new squares. So this top row here, all with the stitch markers on it, are from Sue of the Two Tangled Skeins and the Tangled Skein CA. So we've got this one, which I absolutely love, which actually really reminds me. It's not the same, but it's actually pretty close to the, yeah, no, they're not the same. That's a much darker, but isn't that cool? How like, that's up my alley, apparently. And so I wish I knew what this one was, because I would be interested in it. And then we've got these fun ones. I love getting, actually, the solid colors. I don't have a ton of solid colors in the blanket, but it's nice to have a solid color occasionally to sort of break up the crazy variegation. And then I've moved down to the edge here. I like to do the edge ones in something that's my yarn. And then this is another Sue Mini. This one down here, I made a shawl out of this yarn a few years ago. I bought this yarn in 2010 in Mystic, Connecticut at Mystic River Yarns, and at the time I couldn't find a Ravelry what's the word, like yarn page for what I bought. It may be on there now and I just didn't look, but it says piece of fleece hand dyed sock yarn, semi-solids in the Iolite colorway. Hopefully it's showing up. It's actually this really subdued like purple, but it looks kind of bluish too, so it works well with jeans or to dress it up. And actually, funny story on this one, I was using my minis to crochet a granny square blanket originally, and then I found out about the sock yarn thing and went crazy with it. So I ripped apart my granny square blanket and just went to town, and I found this mini, and I use very small amounts of yarn, less than or approximately 2 grams. I haven't weighed one in a while, but I say 2 grams just to be safe. So I don't use very much. And the first time I tried to do this, I ran out of yarn. Or did I even try to do this? I'm probably lying to you. I probably just measured it and said it's not enough. And I was really bummed, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you can put extras from another one in there and stuff, and whatever. And then I was digging through something, I don't even know where, and I found another mini that was also under 2 grams, so I rushed and joined them together. And I was able to make a full square out of it, which was really nice. That made me feel good that I could have a full square out of it, because I am going to try and use my leftovers to make some crazy big sock yarny ball of crazy and do like a crazy sock head hat out of all my leftovers, because that won't look completely weird, but whatever. The last thing that I've been working on is my Agatha socks. This is a pattern from Claire of the New Hampshire Knits podcast. It's a $3 Ravelry download, and I am making my socks in the red heart and soul. I think everybody's okay. I don't think that was just an accident. In the red heart and soul with aloe yarn, and this is the color Ivory. I was working on these yesterday. I took the progress keeper out because I forgot that I use progress keepers to show you guys my progress. So I was probably up around here somewhere. Oh, and this is showing up so nicely on the new iPad. Like, I'm so happy. So it's sort of a lattice, you can see, and it's very stretchy, very pretty. And so I put my little waist yarn in here, and I am now doing the heel flap. I am using my little cheater's trick because I hate picking up stitches, and yeah, it probably is super easy for most people, but for me, I always seem to miss a stitch somewhere, and I like to be as precise as possible. So I put in a little locking stitch marker on every other slipped stitch on the first part of the row. So that just makes it a little bit easier for me to pick up my heel flap stitches. So I was doing pretty well yesterday, except I dropped 2 of the heel flap stitches, and thank goodness they were ones that had the little locking stitch marker in them. So they're just so loose the first stitch because you're slipping it, that I must have just literally, they just must have fallen off the needle while I was knitting and I just didn't notice. So it was easy enough to sort of pick them back up and put them back on. And then it was time for dinner, and my husband's like, you want something to drink? And because it was Christmas, of course, why not? And so I decided not to do the turning of the heel and the gusset yesterday. I am hoping to keep going with these. I've been working on them since September. I did have to rip out the first sock. It was very sad. And these will not be done before January 1st, but I'm making progress. So it's good to make progress, right? Anyway, so that's what I am working on. Not too much left, so I'm going to just keep rambling on. My first podiversary is coming up in January. I think I started doing this on January 4th, and so it is completely, like, I still can't comprehend that I've been doing this for a year and that people actually watch me. Like, that's so cool, and thank you so much. I will not be recording that first weekend in January because it's New Year's weekend and it's just not gonna work. So I'll be talking with a little bit more detail about the Podiversary in that first episode in January. And I have a ton of prizes to give out to people. So I do want to still arrange things in my head. I'd really like to put a couple of the smaller prizes together and do like a grand prize, because I have people donating patterns. I have people donating, well, not patterns, but like credits. One person's donating like a whole ebook, which is just insane. Oh, yeah, the bag. Whoops. Andrea also sent along, and I got to pick the fabric. My Podiversary giveaway from her. So there's going to be this bag from Andrea. I love it. P for Podiversary. And this one's got the paracord. And it's just got this cute brown sort of, I don't even know what to call that. It's cute though. I like it. And I picked this one because I like to read. And so I'm like, letters. I love letters. She's like, are you sure? Isn't it what about the people want? And I said, I'm giving them it. So I'm going to pick the letters. We've got the bag from Sue of the Tangled Skein CA. I think she's also going to do stitch markers. We've also got, and you saw it last week, and it's up high on the shelf so the cat can't get at it, but from Night Owl Fibers, Rachel generously donated, I think it's sea glass. I bought one too. You'd think I could remember what it's called. It'll be right in show notes. And it is her, I think, DK weight sock yarn blend, and it's really beautiful, and she included some tees and some minis and a progress keeper as well. And I'm just like floored by the generosity of people, and it's going to be amazing. So check out the first episode in January, where I will tell you all of the prizes that you'll be eligible to win, what I want you to do to win them, and when they will be won. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. We'll do a little tiny bit of on the edge. No, this is extra credit. This is what I get for writing things down underneath the wrong thing in the notes. I did also do a tiny little bit of cross stitch. I'm not going to pull it out because it doesn't look like much right now, and it's burlap, so the edges are fraying like crazy. But I started a new, I don't even think I've actually shown it to you, so maybe at some point I should. But it's cute. It's like a bottle of wine and a glass of wine, and it says it's wine o'clock somewhere. And just, I love puns and silly things like that, so I picked it up. It was on sale. But I did a little tiny bit of progress on it. That's going to be another thing that sort of just doesn't get worked on too much with winter camp, but that's okay. So now we will talk about On the Edge, which is like boring life stuff. So if you're not interested, that's totally cool. I will see you next time. If you'd like to hear a little bit about the past couple of weeks for me, then stick around. The first thing is, well, oh man, I forgot to grab that. Don't go anywhere. I am not talking about my Birchbox on the Edge anymore. I felt like it was taking up too much time for what it was, and so I am posting pictures of what I get on Birchbox on Instagram. But if you're ever interested in what I think about things, just let me know, and I'm happy to give you a mini review. And this is one that my monitor is going to blow out also, but if you haven't seen the December box, it's knitting basically. So let's see if I can get, so it's just this fun, like really bright, crazy lime greeny yellow, and then this sparkly. Yeah, so isn't that so adorable? They're little knit stitches. Ah, so cute. So just thought I would throw that in there because it was cute and I wanted to show you guys. Let's see, I donated blood for the first time since I moved to New Hampshire. I'm usually a pretty good blood donor. I first donated blood, I think it was either in high school or college, so it would have been over 10 years ago at this point, showing my age. But I have O positive blood, and so I'm not quite the universal donor, but a lot of people can use my blood. I don't get like the squeamish, icky needle thing, and I don't usually feel great after for a day or two, but it's really a small price to pay for people who need blood. And so, most people can't or decide it's not for them, and that's totally fine. I'm not judging you at all, but blood is something that we can't make. So people are dependent on people to donate it. And so that's why I donate frequently. Where I used to live in Vermont, they had drives pretty frequently, and they were right in that area. Around here, the drives are either in the town where I work, but they're not convenient times because I'm working, or they're where I live and they're not convenient times because they're over by the time that I get home. And so while I could go to a Saturday one, it would mean driving, 20, 30 minutes out of my way if I'm not already into town anyway. And so I haven't really made it the priority that I used to. But my company sent out an email. They said, hey, the company above us in the building is doing a blood drive. If you're interested, please contact them. And I was cleaning out my email the day before the blood drive, and I reread the email and I went, oops. So thankfully they were able to squeeze me in last minute. They were all very welcoming and very nice, and they stayed not late, but they stayed up until 6 o'clock to make sure that everybody who wanted to donate blood could. And so it was a really good feeling to be able to do that again. And I'm hoping that I can try to make that more of a priority and maybe just go out of my way, because what's driving into town 20 or 30 minutes if it means that I can help somebody out, right? So that was really nice. Knocked me on my butt though. Like, I always sort of feel like a superhero after I donate, and then it sort of hits you like the next day, and I'm like, I felt like I couldn't wake up, and I'd forgotten to take both my multivitamin and my vitamin D. So that probably didn't help, but I was just dragging the next day. But that's okay, because again, helping people. Oh, Ozzy, I'm so glad you're still asleep. All right, I also saw Star Wars. I will not spoil that for anybody who's not seen it. I do certainly have some opinions on it. I grew up watching the old trilogy, the original trilogy, with my older brother, and so that was sort of neat to do with him. And then the newer trilogy that came out when I was a teenager, that was, it sort of hit right at a time in my life that I really was looking for something like that. I've always been a nerd, and so that sort of gave me something to nerd about for a while. And so I got a little teary-eyed at the opening crawl, I will say that. But I didn't cry. So I was pretty proud of myself. But so that was neat. My husband and I bought tickets. We didn't go the day it opened, but we went on that Saturday, the first Saturday, and we were able to get tickets the same day, which was great. I can't do 3D, I can't do IMAX, so we just had to watch it regular. And we got there pretty early, and they were like, yeah, they were lining up yesterday about like an hour-ish before the movie started. And so we kind of saw where the line was supposed to start, but there wasn't anybody there. And so I was sitting on a bench doing my knitting because I brought my Holly Jolly socks to work on. And then more people started to come in, and they weren't really lining up either. So, but my husband really wanted to go be the first ones in line. So he made us go sit. And so we were there for, I want to say, like an hour and a half almost. I got a good amount of knitting done on my Holly Jolly socks, so that was good. I don't have any Star Wars stuff, It's funny now that I think about it. I've got like a Star Trek thing, and I've got like Doctor Who stuff, but I don't have anything Star Wars, so I'll have to change that, definitely. And there's certainly enough stuff out there right now with the branding and all the commercials and all that, but I did wear my Doctor Who Felici socks, so the time traveler. I'm like, it's not Star Wars, but it's nerdy, so yeah, okay. And then the last life thing I've got for you was the Christmas full moon last night. I knew about it, I'd read about it on Facebook, someone reminded me about it, and then I just totally forgot until Facebook popped up again around 11 o'clock, and I saw the little thing on trending, and it was the full moon, and I went, I gotta go out and see it. It hasn't happened since 1977, and it's not gonna happen again until like 2034. So I woke my husband up. I went in the room, and I'm like, you don't have to get up and go with me, but this full moon, and I don't want you to regret if you miss it, basically. And it had been cloudy earlier in the day, and so we weren't sure We live right in town, and so there's a lot of light pollution, and so sometimes you can't really get to a good dark spot. But I was able just to go right around the corner and walk up, and we could see it. It wasn't cloudy at that point. It was beautiful, and there was what I call a moonbow, and maybe that's not the technical term for it, but I will put my really awful cell phone picture in here. And you can kind of see right around the top of the building is sort of this ring around the moon. And I just thought that was really, really gorgeous. And I'm sure there are people out there that got way better pictures than I did, but I was glad to have seen it, and I'm glad I woke my husband up because it's sort of not a once in a lifetime thing, but a once in 20-ish, 30-ish years kind of thing. So, and that is all that I have for you. As I already mentioned, I'm going to be putting out a winter camp video after this as well. So if that's something you're interested in, give it a little bit of time and it should be up on YouTube, hopefully not too long after this one. And if you're not interested, you don't have to watch it. But anyway, I will let you guys go. Again, I will not be recording that first weekend in January. But that's not when I would normally record anyway. So why did I even bother telling you guys that? Because I can't count. So I'll see you again for my regularly scheduled podcasting the second weekend in January. And remember, it gets done one stitch at a time. Bye.